today we have Kua, who's our program manager. She'll be doing the presentation. And then we have Tran also. She's the operations manager. She'll be helping with the Q&A. And then we have Christy, who's the operations coordinator. She will also be helping with the Q&A. And last but not least, we have Mike, the program coordinator, who will be also helping with the Q&A. So Kua, you ready?
Great, so thank you everyone again. My name is Kua and I will be presenting about Intercession. And so today I'm here to speak a little bit about what Intercession is. So that way, if there are any new students to SJSU, as you kind of think about the next couple of years, as you'll be here to finish your degree, you'll have this resource handy for you. And so Intercession is it's a mini semester that falls in between the fall and the spring term. And the best way to kind of think about Intercession is that these are optional mini semesters where you can take class, get credit for them. And the courses that we offer during these Intercession semesters are really a mixed bag of classes. So you're looking at your general education courses to your major or minors, prereqs, upper and lower divisions, electives, etc. And Intercession is offered twice a year. The first one being winter session, and we'll kind of go into more details in the next slide. So the first Intercession that we offer in the year is our winter session, and then the second one will be our summer session. And these again may be mini semesters that many of you may have already be familiar with. And so let's go ahead to the next slide. So I'll first speak about winter session. So winter session is offered typically during the first 3 weeks of January. And this is around the time of winter break for everyone. I believe winter break starts around mid-December and all the way into the end of January. And so you will have a couple days after winter session is done before the spring semester starts. And the great thing about winter session is that it's the only semester that does not charge campus fees. And so you are looking at about $700 of savings by taking a winter session course. During winter session, you can also take up to 4 units. That's typically about 1 class that we see from students. That's a 3-unit. But again, you can take any combo of classes up to that 4 units. So we have seen students take a 3-unit class along with the 1 unit. And so 4 units is the max for winter. Classes are usually, the classes usually become available to students to look at around October. So that is coming up pretty shortly now. And there is roughly about 200 classes or so that you can choose from. Registration for our winter session usually opens also in October. This year it will be on October 12th for our SJSU students, and then for our non-SJSU students or Open University students, it will be 2 weeks after, so that will be on October 26th. And so that is our winter session. And so the next Intercession that we offer is our summer session. This may be the mini semester that students are more familiar with. With our summer session, there are 2 sessions, and it gets a little bit confusing. And so this is kind of how I explain it to students. There are 2 sessions that we offer, and it's broken down into 3 segments. And so there are 2 5-week sessions, and then there's 1 10-week session that spans the entire summer. So you're essentially looking at 3 kind of class timeframes that a class could fall into. And then during our summer session, students can take up to 12 units. And campus fees are prorated depending on which session you take. So for example, if you take only the first 5-week session, which will be from June to July, your campus fees will only be prorated for that 1 session. And again, it will be session 1 or session 2, depending on the start date of the class. Now, if you end up taking session 1 and session 2, let's say you take one that starts in June and then another that starts in July, your campus fees will be prorated again, depending on the session and when your class ends up falling into. During the summer, it is the larger intersession between the two. And so we do offer over 500 classes during the summer that students can take. And the timeline for summer session is classes will be available for students to view around mid-March to early April, and then registration usually starts around the beginning of April for our SJSU students. And then again, for Open University students or non-SJSU students, if there are any with us today, that registration date for these students will be about 2 weeks after. And so the question that we get the most from students regarding intercession is whether financial aid is available. And so I was kind of backtrack to winter session first, and then we'll go down to summer. So during winter session, because the weeks or the duration of class is much shorter, unfortunately, there is not any financial aid that is available. We have heard students share with us before that they were able to talk with their financial aid advisor to kind of set aside some of their fall term funds to cover their winter session fees. So if that's something that you think you may be interested in for this upcoming winter, I highly advise you to talk with your financial advisor to see what they would recommend in that aspect. For our summer session, there is a Pell Grant that is available to SJSU students. You can talk with your advisor as well. They should be able to know more details about the eligibility requirements for this Pell Grant. And that way, if you have any questions like how much you will receive, etc., they would be able to help you with that. On our summer session website, we do have a specific section that talks about financial aid. And on the financial aid website, they do have a summer specific financial aid webpage that you can also go to kind of check what the eligibility requirements will be. And so hopefully that covers the financial aid piece. If you have questions about that, again, feel free to put it in the chat and one of our staff, a team member will answer, or if not, we can also address it once we get to the Q&A section. And so just some other general information about Intercession as a whole. The classes that you typically will see during Intercession does kind of come back every year. And so if you're interested in kind of getting an idea of the types of courses that are being offered, what I would recommend for everyone to do is to go onto our summer and winter website. If one of the PE team members can help put in the website into the chat for everyone. When you go to our website, you will see the class schedule from this past year. So you'll see the winter 2022 class schedule linked, and then also for this past summer. Majority of those classes, I want to say they carry over every year. There's very few that I would say does not. And if there is a particular class that you're looking for this past winter, we are finalizing and kind of putting together the class schedule for that to prepare for the October registration date. And so if there is a particular class that you're looking for, feel free to also ask if it will be available in the winter in the chat, and one of our team member will also be able to answer that. And then one point that I do want to also make is that Intercession is not mandatory. So these are not mandatory mini semesters that you have to enroll in. These are just optional. And so you may come to find that during your duration of being an SJSU student, you may not actually need to take an Intercession semester at all, and that's completely okay. You may find that maybe even later down the road, you may only need to participate once. And so again, this is just a resource on campus that's available to students. It's not mandatory in any way. You can utilize it to help you get ahead. So that way, if you're trying to graduate early, this can be a tool for you to use. Or if you find that you we're not able to get into a class, let's say this semester, and you really need that class in order to be able to take another class in spring because it's a prerequisite, you can also utilize it in that way. And we have had students do so in that way too. And I do want to say that majority of the students that we have seen, or a good portion of students that we've seen that would take intercession courses are typically our juniors and seniors. And so if you are a first year student here or a second year student, this doesn't mean that we don't have these students taking these courses during intercession. We mostly see it from our juniors and seniors because again, these are students who are getting closer to completing their degree, and they're trying to get out, and they're trying to graduate as fast as they can. And so that is kind of where the bulk of students that we would see. But there are a good number of first years and second years who also are trying to get ahead and utilize it that way too. And so I just wanted to point that out. So that way, if you are currently a junior or a senior right now, you can, this is a very beneficial tool for you to utilize. The other big question that we always get from students when we talk about intercession is the modality of the classes. This year we are kind of moving away from online classes. We are not moving away is the wrong phrase. We are opening class options back to being in person or hybrid or online. And so our faculty, they do have the option to choose one of those modalities, especially during the summer and winter. For our winter session, we typically see that majority of the classes are offered online. Again, this is during winter break, and so that has kind of been the highest modality that we've seen. And so if you are interested in taking a winter class this upcoming semester or this upcoming year, it's very likely it may be offered in an online format. We do have a couple hybrid and a couple in-persons, but again, it's very few compared to the online courses during winter. During summer, there's because there's more classes, you may see a good blend between online and in-person hybrid courses. Or I know that these past 2 summers, they've been very online heavy, again, based on the campus direction. And so now that we're kind of going back into in-person classes next summer, it's still, again, classes are still kind of being determined on the department level, but we could see that there may be more in-person classes returning next summer. The other question that we get from students, especially those who need more, who wants to take more classes than the max number of units that's offered. There is a petition that students can fill out. So let's say during winter, there's only 4 units. You can only enroll up to 4 units, but let's say you only need one additional, you only need 2 classes, 2 3-unit classes to enroll in. And so then instead of enrolling in a whole new semester, in an entire semester like spring part-time, you can just complete those 2 classes during winter. And so we do have a petition that students can fill out. And upon approval, you could be able to take more than just the 4 units. And this petition is offered for both winter and for summer. And so that could be an option for everyone. We don't recommend it only because these are condensed semesters. And so these are a class that's typically being taught in a 16-week format, being condensed down to that 3 weeks or 5-week format. And it may be very overwhelming for students. And so with that in mind, which is why we kind of, relay to students that if you are taking a kind of a mini semester, you don't want to overwhelm yourself. And so unless you are ready for it, we don't recommend taking more than the recommended number of units. And as a grad student myself who has kind of gone through a mini semester, in that 3 and 5 week format, it definitely is fast pace. You do kind of have to time manage, your course load for that, during that time frame, and it could get easily very overwhelming if you're taking more than the recommended units. And so, as a grad student, again, I wouldn't recommend it, but again, it's definitely up to you, and you know yourself better than anyone, and so you can definitely have that option in case that's something that you're looking for. Um, and I think that should cover all of the information, so we can go into the 5 top reasons that we see from students of why they take an intercession class. And the first one is, of course, you can earn units in weeks rather than months, right? So this is a 3-week or a 5-week class, and so you're earning credits in a shorter time frame. Students do graduate faster. Back in 2019, we did run a data report on students who took a winter session class and compared their graduation rate to their peers who did not. And we did find that about 84% of students who enrolled in a winter session course did actually graduate faster than their peers. And so again, this may be very important for some of you who are trying to get out into your career and graduate faster and get into the careers that you're looking for. You can also complete prerequisites. So the example that I gave earlier was if you were not able to take a class day this fall, but you need that as a prerequisite to in order to take another class in the spring. If it's offered during intercession, we do see that students enroll in it. So that's, again, another great benefit about winter and about summer. As SJSU students, you do get advanced registration. And so what this means is that our mini semester, it is open to all students, whether they are an SJC student or whether they are not. We do open our classes during summer and winter to the community. So this means that other students from other colleges and universities, they can take classes at SJSU as well. And so we want to prioritize our students. And so as SJC students, you do get kind of a 2-week time frame ahead of the public. And so for this upcoming winter, registration for SJC students starts on October 12th. And then for non-SJC students, they will open on October 26th. So again, 2 weeks after. And so in that 2-week time frame, as an SJC student, you kind of get the first dibs of all the classes and all the seats. And so that's also been a very great benefit. And so and then moving onto the last benefit is that you save money on reduced campus fees for summer, and then for winter there's no campus fees at all. And so that can be a great motivator for some students who are looking to not have to pay those large campus fees amounts. And then I'll pass it to you, Cindy, for the contact info.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Kua, for the presentation. So for those of you guys, if you have any information about, either winter or summer session or anything that, like a financial questions, anything, you could feel free to give us a call or email us with your questions, and you can learn more about, intercession on our website at learn.sjsu.edu intercession. And then again, thank you everyone for joining. We're gonna go right into our Q&A session. So right here, if you guys sign up, scan the QR code and sign up, you get a chance to win some of really cool prizes. So for Q&A, Kua, do you want to take a look at some of the questions in the chat? Or, you guys feel free to unmute yourself and ask the questions, and we'll be happy to answer.
I'll quickly go through the chat now to see if there's any questions. I can see that Trang, Mike, and Christy have already been answering a few. It looks like a repeating question that I see is students asking about the winter class schedule. So the winter class schedule will be available on our website starting, I believe, October 10. Right now, for all of our students who have subscribed to our emailing list, you do get a first peek of that class. And so I highly recommend everyone to scan the QR code and sign up to receive email communications. You will be able to see that sneak peek of the class schedule once you sign up. And so if that's something that you're interested in, I definitely recommend it. All right, I'm going to keep going down the chat, but if anyone has any questions that they would like to ask out loud, please feel free. I do see a questions in the chat about Open University and how the enrollment process will look like. So right now, depending on the type of student you are as you're coming into Open University, whether you have, whether you're completely new to Open University and SJSU as a whole, or if you are a past student returning to SJSU, the process can look different. And so what I would recommend is if you are interested in enrolling in winter session as an Open University student, please reach out to us at our email. Cindy, if you can go back to the contact page really quick, please send us an email, and Mike, who is also here with us today, he will be able to kind of walk you through the process of what the registration would look like, as the process is very different for SJSU students compared to Open University. And so to kind of briefly explain, as an SJSU student, if you're trying to enroll in a class during winter, you would do so through your My SJSU, similar to kind of how you're selecting and adding classes during your fall and spring term. The registration process is not any different than that. And then for our Open University students or our non-SJSU students, your process is a little bit different. There's a couple added steps before you can enroll in classes in My SJSU. And so again, if you are a Open University student, or if you're someone who's interested in taking Open University, please send us an email, and that way we can walk you through kind of what that process will look like, as again, depending on the type of student that you are coming into Open University, the registration process will be a little bit different. And hopefully that answered the question on OU.
Thank you for answering that question. I have a quick follow-up question on the Open University. How does how does it look like? How does what does the process look like to convert an Open University student to a full-time master's student, specifically for computer science department? And is it necessary only to register for Open University during the winter and summer sessions? Can someone register in the regular sessions as well?
That's a great question. Before I answer, are you a current SJSU student?
No, I'm not.
Okay, perfect. So if you are a completely new Open University student, and let's say you've never applied to an SJSU program, whether that be during undergrad or a master's program, there is a process that you can create your account via our quick admit process, which creates your My SJSU account. And then once that becomes, after I believe 24 or 48 hours, your account will be ready for you to actually log in. And then you can, register for classes, online yourself. So that could be a process, or you can also submit. There is a registration form for Open University students, and so you can also do the form route as well. And so Open University is not limited to only the summer and winter session. If you find a class that you want to take during the fall and spring semester, you can also apply for classes during that time frame as well. We do typically see for our OU students, majority of them do take the fall and spring term classes, as the selection of classes is a lot wider than the classes that are being offered during summer and winter.
Hi, this is Trang. Can I add to whatever Kur just respond to you, Shri? If you take the graduate level class at San Jose State, those classes are listed as 200 or above. you have to go through the registration form because they would want to check whether you already have a bachelor degree, and you have to submit the proof of verification of your degree at the time that you submit the form. The other question you have is that how to convert the OU status to a matriculated student. Attending SJSU through Open University doesn't guarantee the admission to a graduate program. So you have to apply through Cal State Apply, just like the link I posted on the chat. And you have to submit all of the document required, as well as the test that they require for the department to go through a selection process.
Thank you. Thanks for answering the question. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Any other questions from students here today? It looks like majority of the questions were already answered in chat.
So we're good.
If no one else has any other questions, we could end the presentation here. We can stay back for a couple minutes in case any students have any questions that they want to ask us directly. We'll stay back for about 5 minutes or so. But yeah, other than that, if there are no other questions, feel free to go ahead and log off. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you again for attending.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.